Ball podcast. It is only two guys today here as Grant is not able to make it here. Now Ethan, this is his second time on the this year on the show, and we've had 6 episodes this year. He's had 5 colonoscopies each week.
Been struggling.
I will say Grant.
It's not great.
Grant is coming off Grant. No, he's not doing well. He's coming off 2 colonoscopies in the same week after the belt to ass game that happened to the Chiefs on Sunday. He's still recuperating. We thought we would give him until Thursday to where he'd be able to kind of gather himself, collect his thoughts. He's still has not recovered yet. So hopefully he's going to be back on next week here. But Ethan and I are holding it down. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you like and rate and subscribe there. Hop in the chat here as let us know what your thoughts on the game was. But a game that we felt that was going to live up to the hype, a lot of hype, going to be a down to the wire game, and it was not. It was evident very early on that the Eagles looked like they were a team on a mission. They were a freight train that you did not want to be on the tracks for, and frankly, I don't think it would have mattered if the Bills or Ravens would have made it to the Super Bowl. I think this would have been the final result. I think they had a much better game plan. They went out and executed that game plan a lot better, and that's what you get. Got to give credit where credit is due. This is not a pro Eagles podcast. I believe pretty much all three of us said Sirianni was going to be fired by mid-season. As no, Siri, I don't want to talk to you. As
I said, week 7.
Yeah,
I said early. So
it was.
But
I
hey,
think we all
know?
said that. Yeah, no. Well, we obviously don't know anything.
Don't know as much as we think. It's fine.
Nope. We just this week we're 2 guys with shitty webcams talking ball. So
yeah,
we
sounds about right.
But I mean, that game, it was if you would have told me that Saquon was gonna touch the ball 25 times and only had 57 yards, I would have said, yeah, there's no way the Chiefs are gonna lose this game.
Yeah, I definitely thought he was gonna be like, I shouldn't say loose, kind of like what he has been doing, where multiple 40, 50-yard runs or whatever. But I certainly thought he was going to average more than 2 yards a carry. And I wasn't on, obviously, the week leading up to the Super Bowl. But I was going to say Eagles 31-20. But it certainly wasn't going to happen the way I thought it went. That's for damn sure.
No. And I think it was a great game plan by Fangio where they did a really good job. And I think it's proven time and time again the way you beat the Chiefs is if you're able to get pressure with 4 guys and drop 7 into coverage and make Pat Mahomes go through reads and try to beat you. And you look at the corners from the Eagles, they were up there jamming them and not really getting free releases, which seems like the Chiefs are used to. And it just never felt like the Eagles or the Chiefs were able to adjust to it at all. Where, Andy Reid still has, this goes back to from when he was the Eagles coach, since he's been the head coaches. He's never met a run play that he likes. And it was just such a pass-happy game. And, when you're running these deep, intermediate to deep routes and you're not having time to throw the ball, that you're going to get sacked 6 times in a game like what happened, and they just never adjusted to it.
No, their interior O-line. Jalen Carter took up, I swear to God, they could have tried to block him with 3 guys and it wouldn't have mattered. Milton Williams, Milton Johnson, I can't remember his name. He was in there. So they were constantly getting pressure, and at the same time, the ends didn't overcommit. And so Mahomes had nowhere to go. He could only step up essentially into the pressure or he was just going to walk right into the guy on the edge. The Nolan Smiths, Javon Sweats, like super impressive game plan by the Eagles, and just being able to dominate the line of scrimmage. There was no hope. Like, it was over at halftime. It didn't matter if the Chiefs scored their first possession or not. Like, it was done. They were never going to come back from that when they went down 24-0.
Yeah. And there were just too many mistakes. We've said all year that they were the two best teams. They were the teams that they didn't beat themselves. They sat back and they let everybody else make those mistakes. And the Chiefs were the ones that made those mistakes. You look at the 2nd and 26. They just was it a sack or an incompletion? But they had them. They would have been a 3rd and long situation where it would have been just try to get as much as you can and punt. And Nick Bolton has the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, that late hit after the whistle, and they bailed them out. I think they got a touchdown out of it.
Yeah,
and
that might have been their second touchdown, if not their first. Actually, no, because their second touchdown was the pick six to go up 17-0. So I think that would have been their first touchdown.
Yep. It's third. Yeah, I have it written down. After I wrote Chiefs O-line is officially outmatched. Feels like Super Bowl versus Bucks. And then it's about to be 3rd and 26. Bolton gets unnecessary roughness for a first down. And then the bad throw by Mahomes, touchdown to Brown. And that was the other part too, is Jalen Hurts made throws when he had to. I mean, his two best games were in the Super Bowl because he played really well in the 1-2 years ago when they fell short. And this year, I mean, in this entire playoff run, anytime it was third down or that 3rd and 8, 3rd and long, where it was he would struggle. Every time it was a fade to Brown. It was Goddard. They found ways to convert on 3rd down and keep drives going.
I feel like we have to add or consider if that was like the most dominant playoff run we've seen in the past 20 years.
It's probably up there. I mean, outside, I mean, you can probably say that throw an argument that Eagles-Rams game was close, but that was also an element game where, I mean, you were dealing with a bunch of snow and it was just terrible weather where it was basically just kind of survive in advance, and they found a way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think back because this was, I mean, we probably have to go back to the 90s because if you listen to a lot of the old heads that have covered the game for a while or grew up in the 90s that are older than us, they talk about that's exactly what the Super Bowl was like growing up in the 90s because it was just blowout city.
We haven't seen a blowout like that in a long time.
No, the Bucks Chiefs in 2020, and then after that, I'm trying to think.
I don't even remember.
Well,
yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Seahawks Broncos.
Oh yeah, what was that? 20? That was when we were at NDSU. That was our first year at NDSU. So what was that?
Yeah,
2017.
2013.
Yeah, so you're right. Sure, I'm thinking
11 years, well, 12 years. So it would have been 11 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just nuts. Yeah,
because
I liked it. I was kind of over. Chiefs are so great. 3-peat thing. Like I mean, I know like when teams are really good, you hate them. But for whatever reason, I never really got that. Like when the Patriots were good, but for some reason with the Chiefs, I just couldn't. I couldn't take it anymore. I was just annoyed with it.
I think part of it is with the Patriots. They were like, yeah, we don't care that we're the villain. They might the Chiefs might be like the Heat, the LeBron Heat, where it was like they didn't want to be. They wanted everybody to like us, but you just couldn't. They didn't embrace being the bad guy or the boogeyman or the villain. Where it was like, yeah, I respect that they're going to lean into who they are, where the Chiefs still try to give off that nice guy vibe.
100%. Terrence
But
Shannon, all of a sudden, Terrence Shannon's getting some run tonight, and he's playing extremely well.
ooh,
Finally, 13 points on 4 of 8 shooting tonight.
should have been a Michigan Wolverine.
Well, Illini fighting
Yeah,
Illini. Yeah.
it was that was because of the transfer or like the it was tougher to be
Grades
a
or something.
transfer at Michigan. Yeah, something. They were supposed to have
Makes
him
sense.
and Caleb Love. That would have made that which
Yeah, I remember the
guess
Caleb
maybe
Love one. Yeah, I do remember that for sure.
but it
He
was
had
yeah, it was
committed
both.
publicly and everything.
Yeah, same with Terrence Shannon. He was they were both like set to go there, and they academically they weren't going to be accepted or something like that.
Well, I guess North Carolina's fake classes weren't good enough for Michigan.
I guess not. No.
Yes, calling out your team. Like I said it.
But it was it was a belt to ass game, and it was probably the worst game that Pat Mahomes has played in his entire career. And the offensive line wasn't very good, but he didn't play very well either. He was rushed. It was like really the first time where you saw him have happy feet, where there were people where there was nobody around him, and he was moving around when he didn't need to.
Definitely. Like I guess he's still a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's not. But this year, honestly, almost the whole year, he really wasn't anything spectacular. I think he's probably top 10 quarterback, but I don't think he's top 5 anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go that far. I think I wonder how much of a part of like because even the last couple of years he hasn't looked like the last 2 years he hasn't looked like what you saw when he broke into the league. I want like if you look at like his whole family situation. You saw his dad. His dad's going to be fighting John Rocker at a Barstool.
I saw that. What the heck is that about all of a sudden?
I think that's how like it was like staged in New Orleans that they were going to fight each other. Why? I don't know. It's his brother, his wife has kind of flipped the script where she is not the most unsufferable, dislikable person in the family. I wonder, like, having to deal with all of that family drama, I wonder if that wears on him a little bit.
Has to. Like, do we even know what happened to his brother?
No, I've heard he deleted his TikTok account. I can't confirm. Which I think that's also why Grant's not here today, is he's sad over not being able to work on his Jackson Mahomes TikTok moves, or his dream of doing a TikTok with Jackson Mahomes is over. So, and the other part that the Eagles did is they did something that no other team in the NFL could. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the officiating that goes the way of the Chiefs, and as somebody who will play devil's advocate with that, can the Chiefs get some favorable calls at times? Probably. But there's also the other side of it. If you go back to the AFC Championship game, Josh Allen, did he get that first down? It's more probable than not, if we're speaking in NFL terms, that he did get it. But at that point, they still had the lead. There was still 9 minutes left, and they still had an opportunity to go win the game. And in that biggest moment, the Bills crapped in their helmet, and the Chiefs made the plays. The Eagles decided to be the aggressor and not let it come down to a situation where it could be decided by a questionable call. When they had the opportunity to step on their neck, to turn the knife, they went out and did it.
I think some of it too is Allen and Jackson have lost so many times to Mahomes in the playoff. Until one of them actually beats them, like they're already beat. Like they just mentally, I don't know if they don't know they can't beat them. They're scared. What the hell's going on? But the Eagles they didn't care. Like they stepped on the throat and they never let go. Like they didn't step off. Completely different than just how the Ravens and the Bills play them in the playoffs. Like came out, kicked their ass, and didn't look back.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe part of it is that the the Chiefs played their Super Bowl 2 weeks ago in that emotional game, back and forth affair that they had to get over that hurdle, which is also funny because Nick Wright said, well, they just had their Super Bowl. They beat the Chiefs. How are they going to recover? Well, Nick
is such a fraud.
Did you apparently he ran into Jalen Hurts' mom on Bourbon Street on Saturday night, and she came up to him and was saying, called him out on all the things she said about him, or he said about her son.
Yeah, Jalen.
And he was that he did or didn't say, and goes, and it clicked with him. He's like, "Are you Jalen Hurts' mom?" And what we can get into that too is we talk, the Eagles, not a likable franchise. The fan base is disgusting. When they win, they decide to riot and eat horse shit and terrorize the city. And Nick Sirianni, very punchable face, but they have a lot of likable guys on that team. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, both very difficult guys to root against. Cooper DeJean, all of those guys are tough to root against. And Jalen Hurts' story of, benched in the national title game, goes in for a hurt Tua in the SEC championship game, beats Georgia in that game, comes in, wasn't expected to be a guy, takes over for Carson Wentz, and now is the hero. Someone that it would have been easy for him to leave and, kick dog turds, pout, all of that, and go back to that national championship. Who was the first one hugging Tua after he won the national title, or threw that pass to win the national title? It was Jalen Hurts. It's such a selfless guy that really only cares about winning and will do whatever it takes to win. Same with Saquon. Going from a horrible situation in New York to Philadelphia, where he's going to a good organization, a good front office, and I just said Nick Sirianni has a punchable face, but he's obviously a pretty good coach. He knows what he wants, and in the game plan, in these big games, he does a great job of getting guys, of making sure that the playmakers on offense are involved in the game plan early, because there's so many times you see in these big games where these stars have one or two big catches, but in these big games, he gets them involved, and all of those superstars perform at a high level.
Honestly, I don't hate the Eagles anymore. I did, I think, solely because they kicked our ass in the NFC Championship back in 2019. But I think it was 2019, if I remember right.
17.
17, that's what it was. But I like Saquon. I like Jalen. They just have a lot of dudes on defense, and they're selfless. You can just see that they're playing for each other. I'm not a huge fan of A.J. Brown. I think he kind of seems like an asshat. But Nick Sirianni, we all know how I feel about him. I've said that multiple times. But overall, outside of their fans, which, to be honest, every fan base has asshole fans. There's more than others. But I don't mind them anymore. I was cheering for them the whole time. I don't know. I wanted them to win.
It's hard to root. They have a good front office. They do things the right way. They develop players. They bring guys along.
It's not like they're the Dodgers of the NFL. I mean, granted, that's hard to do with the salary cap, but point still stands. They develop. They draft well. I mean, look at their secondary. Two of their stars were first and second round picks this year. They knew their secondary sucked last year. Yeah. They knew they sucked last year in the secondary. What do? They go address it. They sign a Zach Bond, some linebacker that no one else wanted, turn him into an all-pro. They've had a lot of reclamation projects and just really good drafting. And sure, you can say Jalen Carter falling to them at 10, I want to say, in their lap. That's pretty lucky. But, you also almost killed a person in a car crash type thing. So, there's a reason he fell. But the other teams weren't smart enough to take him. So how could you hate them for it?
They get guys like that. It's amazing. The fact that Jalen Carter falls to him, Cooper DeJean falls to him, Nakobe Dean, who is hurt but falls to him.
I totally forgot he was out. Yeah, he fell to him.
No, Nolan Smith. It's just painful. Devontae Smith falls to him.
Yep.
Saquon, they get him.
Can you imagine if they didn't take Rager and they would have taken Justin Jefferson?
Nope, I don't want to think about that. They have enough. They have an embarrassment of riches.
I saw someone tweet that, and I was like, oh, my God, that would just be awful.
Dallas Goedert in the second round falls to him.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. But, hey, what can you do?
And, Jason Kelce retires, and they get better on the offensive line.
Yeah, Becton's a free agent. That'll be a big one. He was fantastic at left guard.
Yep. He was
That's what I don't get. A lot of these guys that struggle at left tackle, why don't more of them kick inside to left guard? Like Cam Robinson would be an excellent left guard for the Vikings.
Well, that could happen when Darius comes back. If they or was it?
I think it'd be best case scenario.
It was Darius that was their left tackle that was hurt, right?
Darius blew out his knee. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, who knows? That might happen. Even Tyler Smith for the Cowboys, he was drafted as the left tackle, and they moved him in the left guard, and he's been a solid guard so far for the Cowboys.
Look at Faalele from Minnesota. Was a right tackle, came in as a tackle, boom. Stud right guard now for Baltimore. Helps when you're 6'9", almost 400 pounds, but still, like technique matters.
So, Ethan, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is the game going to be the first game of the year next year on Thursday night? I'll pull up. I'll help you out here. I'll pull up who the Eagles play at home next year.
I don't need it. I'm gonna go. I saw this schedule. I think with Dallas's new coach, Dak coming back, CD getting healthy, that defense healthy, because they actually got healthy at the end of the year, I think Dallas opens versus them in Philly.
Interesting. There are also some other candidates would be a rematch of the NFC title game versus Washington, Chicago, potentially, Detroit. A lot what people had penciled in as the NFC Championship game, the Rams they have at home, and the Rams. So some interesting options. And they
I really do think it'll be the Cowboys.
Could be.
I think as we get closer to the year, Dallas is going to start getting some, especially if they draft Genty, like they're going to be getting some serious publicity.
I'd like that. Micah Parsons, I saw, is pushing to for them to be more aggressive, but I'll go out on a limb here. I will say that they're going to be playing, and they also will go to Kansas City next year.
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with from a couple of years ago. I'm gonna go. They're gonna play Detroit, I think.
Okay.
In week 1 on Thursday night here, but I don't know. It's gonna be a kind of a short episode here with really only the Super Bowl we had on the agenda. Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. I think we'll probably do that as free agency gets closer, or maybe do that next week when we have Grant back. Hopefully he's recovered enough from his second colonoscopy in 5 days.
Right. God, I just hope we really don't take. I know Schefter name dropped the Vikings earlier this week. I hope to God that isn't actually accurate.
Is that actually a serious consideration? Is that the Vikings?
I don't know, but Adam literally said it. He goes, a team like the Vikings or something. And honestly, Adam's smarter than that. He knows if he name drops someone, there's some legitimate steam. He doesn't just name drop these teams for no reasons. He's a professional. He knows he's the best at what he does. He's the Shams of the NFL. Let's just call it what it is. I pay attention to it. So, there has to be some sort of mutual interest there.
That would be time is a flat circle if that does happen.
And it's Brett Favre all over again. Except the ground won't be frozen. Honestly, I would hate it, but at least you have JJ waiting in the wings if he sucks, if it would happen.
Yeah. Well, and towards the end of the year, Aaron Rodgers started to look like the Aaron Rodgers.
He wasn't terrible. I'll give him that. But his offensive line was non-existent. So
his O-line was terrible. They had absolutely zero running game. Oh, and he played for the Jets. So he's going to be going into a much better system. But
that's if he doesn't retire. Who knows at this point? He's such a head case.
I give Aaron Rodgers credit, or Aaron Glenn credit, basically saying, like, because I think that's a big part of playing the position is being a quarterback is you need to be all in on football all the time. And Andrew Luck, I don't know if you listened to Pardon My Take, but Andrew Luck was on Pardon My Take, and he said that played into why he retired is because of all the injuries. He wasn't enjoying it as much, and he wasn't enjoying the grind, the commitment that it takes, and he felt like he was would have been cheating his teammates if he was halfway in. And I think Aaron Glenn is trying to establish a culture of, we want football guys in the building. You're the quarterback. You're the face of our franchise. We can't have you going off missing mandatory work to go smoke peyote in Egypt or whatever he was doing. We need you there because we need you to be a part of this. And I don't think Aaron wants to. I think he
wants to do his own thing.
Do his own thing. He wants to do what's best for Aaron Rodgers, not what's best for the team. I'd be curious, if the Steelers, Raiders, they both need quarterbacks. But
one thing we could touch on quick is just the T-Wolves ownership.
Oh yeah, that's right. The T-Wolves. That was announced that the arbitrator ruled in favor of Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez.
One thing I did read was, I guess I heard this more on the radio, but the number one thing that A-Rod and Lori want to do is a privately funded new arena. And it wouldn't be downtown. They kind of like what the Braves did and like what the Vikings did, essentially. They kind of create like a village. So they want to do something like that, whether it's in Chaska is one town I heard. Egan is another. Edina. So, like, they're going to stay here. Like, I don't think that's a worry at all for anyone. Adam Silver wouldn't let them leave anyway. They want expansion. They don't want to take a team. But
they want the Mavs to move to
Vegas. That would be awesome. Yeah, they're not going to move anyone to Vegas. They're just going to get a Vegas team. It's simple as that. But no, that would be so cool to get their own stadium, just kind of like a little Timberwolves village. They should just call it the Timberwolves Den.
That would be sweet.
That'd be pretty cool.
Curious to see what they would do with Target Center, because then maybe they could turn like what they want to do with the Wolves. They could turn that into the Twins tent. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of homeless people in Minneapolis.
Like I know they'd still
Twins tent.
I don't know what they do. Maybe tear it down and build a parking lot. I legitimately have no idea. But it is very old. Yes, they've renovated it. They've made it nicer. But Marnie Gellner was saying it's probably like one of the worst stadiums that she's been in. And God knows how many times she's been around stadiums and all that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it'd be pretty cool. It'd be a good one.
I think I'll be there on Saturday, actually.
You're going to the game?
No, Shane Gillis. I'll be at a coach's
clinic you're going to the comedian
next weekend. Yeah. And Shane Gillis is there Saturday, and I'm thinking we're gonna try and hit that up after we go to town on some Fogo de Chao.
Nice.
And taking some Shane Gillis. It's our coaching staff, so it's our coaching clinic we try to go to every year. We were gonna go last year, and then we had terrible weather, so we ended up not going. But
gotcha.
Knock on wood. Looks like we just got to get through the cold spell that you and I were talking about before we started recording. Where if you're not in Dickinson right now, this is the forecast for the next 10 days. Tomorrow is a high of 10. Saturday, high of 2. Sunday, high of -1. Monday, get ready for this one, high of -10. No, that is not an error. I'm not reading that wrong. Even though there are questions if I can't read, I am reading that correctly. -10. Tuesday, high of -5. Wednesday, high of -2. Thursday, Thursday a high of 12, Friday high of 28, Saturday 37. So we're almost back to normal there. But going to be some frigid temps, which also, when they say -10, it's going to feel like it's going to be about -50. It's going to be like the Ice Bowl game.
Nope.
Back in the 60s.
I'm good.
But, let's Ethan, let's put a bow on the show here. Let's kick it over to you. What do you got for curveball of the week?
I was doing something was it yesterday? This morning that made me think of this. But what is something that like you learned as a kid that you still do today? I don't know if it's like a skill, but just some like trick that maybe your parents taught you that you still do.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I can go while you think. I wore a sweater to work the last couple of days. And when I was putting on my coat, I grabbed the end of my sweater so it wouldn't roll up into my coat.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever learned that.
It's a good one because it's so uncomfortable when your sweater's like shoved up halfway and
yeah. Oh, this is a good one. I learned is to tell where the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans, you could tell which one it is because Atlanta is on the East Coast and Pacific is on the West Coast. And in the alphabet, P is closer to W and A is closer to E.
Okay, that's fair.
That's where what I came up with. So I think that wraps this.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'd have to think, and what's going to happen is I'll probably text you when I'm done because I'll think about 3 or 4 different things that practical skills that I've learned throughout the years that I didn't think about because it's on the fly and can't. But
it's hard to think.
Yeah, that wraps up this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We're going to blink here. It's going to be March Madness. Games are starting to heat up here, getting a little bit tighter. Michigan is in first place in the Big Ten. Not that it matters because they will probably be a first-round exit. Like I was telling Ethan, I was like, it's a lot like watching the Vikings. They get out to a good lead. They let a team back in, and they somehow pull it out unless when we're in attendance and the Gophers win at the buzzer. So
so good.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It was a fun day. So that wraps this week's episode up. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, 3GTB Podcast. You can find us on all of our social medias as we wrap it up. Thank you again for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
So I texted Grant.